What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Lightspeed Investing Podcast. I've got Paul Miranda here. He is an entrepreneur and former electrical engineer based in Houston, Texas. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Phil?
I'm fantastic, man. Super excited to bring you on because you've had a pretty interesting journey with trading, right? Especially, having 8 years of investing experience leading you to our world, being exposed to it. And safe to say, it sounds like you're now pretty obsessed about it and you want to utilize trading as your main source of income. So why don't you, give the audience a little bit of background, as how this came about and why are you now so obsessed with making this a top priority for you?
Yeah, no, that's a good starter question, Phil. So trading for me, I feel has always been around. I remember when I was in college, I had a friend of mine who was into trading, right? And when
Mm,
I left college, I went straight into the military. And
okay.
his like parting gift for me was a bottle of uh, Jack Daniels, not Jack Daniels, Johnny Walker Blue Label.
Okay.
Right? And I didn't know what that was at the time, right?
Yeah.
We just knew I like whiskey. Looking back on it years later, I was like, man, he was trading and he at 19 or no 22 years old and getting me a gift like that. Um, the other thing is my mom, she was a vice president for a big family office out of New York City,
Yeah.
right? So she worked there for like 42 years or something and
Okay.
had some big clients. And the way she would talk about the things they did was on a whole different level than what she was really teaching me and my brother what to do.
Mm,
I come from immigrant parents, and it was always about go to school and have a good job.
right. Right.
So I have a twin brother, and being I guess good Asian kids, my brother's a doctor and I'm an engineer, right? I'm an electrical engineer, right?
Sure.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, then as when I got out of the military, I had an engineering job with a big oil company.
Yeah.
And you can imagine to go from a military salary to an engineering salary literally overnight, right? So I got
Yeah.
out of the military one day and then the next I'm working for an oil company. I felt like my life changed and I had some disposable income, things like that. So I started reading a lot of books. And I think everyone's first book is like Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I read that book. That got me thinking about real estate. And
Hmm.
so, as soon as I was able to get my first down payment, I started doing real estate. And then as that continued to grow, I started, because I had a background in oil, I was investing in oil ventures.
Okay.
Things happen. Maybe I wasn't as savvy and, you know, life happens and those didn't work out. And as I just kind of progressed through this journey, trading was always in the back of my mind. And a friend of mine, who's part of this community,
Hmm.
kind of brought me in. And when I started learning about it, I felt that this style of investing was more in line with my personality. The
Okay.
way
How
things
so?
happen. Yeah. So for me, I guess going in the military, leadership is taught in a way
Mm,
to make a decision with, I guess, the best amount of information that you have.
sure.
Everything in the military, there's a probability of success and failure, and the consequence of that is life or death, like literally, right? And that could be for you or for the other guy, right? And you always want it to be the other guy. And I feel like trading was the same way. You're looking at all your charts, the price action, the indicators,
Yep.
all the things you guys teach, and you have to make a probabilistic decision within the time frame that you're trading, which for us, is on the 1 minute. And so that resonated with me. I can essentially get feedback on my decision making fairly quickly versus some of my real estate or my oil ventures. It just
Mm,
took months and months. And
yeah.
then while this, we'll say this, the ship is sinking,
Yeah.
you're starting to question yourself. Is it me? Did I make a bad decision? Are my systems wrong? Am I not just persevering through this? Am I quitting? So you're going through all this in your mind. Well, as in trading, it's like, nope, I was wrong. Stopped out. All right, let's reset.
Right.
So
You have more direct control and the feedback is more immediate, right, with the markets.
exactly.
Now,
Yes.
now let's just, in case the audience listening in, right, didn't really know what the nuances are, right? We're specifically trading futures, commodities, and stock options, which are known to be more risky and volatile asset classes, right? And if you don't know what you're doing, right, you can certainly get hurt. But of course, if you have a proper system, bona fide billionaires have come out of our space, right? Such as John Arnold, the gentleman that took 1.5 million to 1.5 billion in 2.5 years, trading the commodity natural gas the right way. So for you, did you always know about trading futures? Like you talked about that friend from college, or was he trading other asset classes such as forex or stocks? Right? Like I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
How much did you know about trading?
Yeah. So as far as futures are concerned, I first heard about futures when I worked at the oil company.
Okay.
Um, so, you talk about commodities. So oil and gas is being hedged based on the fluctuation in order for them
Yes.
to be profitable, right?
Yep.
So on my side of it, I was always where I work, we were putting crude into pipelines and getting contracts for that. So I
Okay.
was actually seeing the physical commodity. And I
Mm.
always wondered, how is this, like, when everyone talks about hedging, when I'm talking to the traders like in the office and they're talking about that, they kind of just talk about it like all this jargon. And I didn't have a trading background. So
Right.
I didn't know.
Yep.
And then once I got into the space, like with this group, I started learning more about it. So I tell you, like everyone here, I went into this with like zero experience, zero
Gotcha.
knowledge of what it actually is. I mean, I've heard it throughout my life, but I didn't know what it was.
I see. But how do you think the background from military and engineering, right, with the discipline and the rigors in that training, right, help progress in this realm? What do
Ah,
you, yeah,
okay.
how do you think those translated?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So in the military, anyone that served in the military will tell you that when you get a group of young meat eaters that just want to go do something crazy.
Yeah.
Um, they get a lot of good ideas. They got a lot of energy. And the thing that you have to impress upon them is what they call the crawl, walk, run approach.
Yeah.
And so that's the same approach that I've taken with this,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Instead of going in there, funding my account with a whole bunch of money and starting to you know, short, sell, and buy, and all that other stuff. I jumped on the simulator, and instead of putting the simulator, I was talking to one guy. He's like, "Yeah, just put in like $1 million in there and just start simulating with 1 million, and you can see how much your potential is."
Yeah, which is
Uh,
definitely not what we could recommend,
yeah,
right?
right, right. I was like, no, like let's just pretend I'm gonna put $100 in there and let's
Mhm.
see how I can last for a month with that. So that was kind of my crawl phase.
Wow.
And then from there, adding to it, one thing that I guess you guys have been really good about is talking about being process oriented. So
Hmm.
how's my decision making? Don't
Yeah.
worry about the P&L. So even now, I don't track P&L. I track my win rate and I track my points. Right?
I
I
love
don't
that.
really
I
care
love
about
that. Yeah,
so
because coming from medicine, right? I always say money making here is just a byproduct and an outcome of the right inputs, similar to biochemistry, right? So if you want to focus on the right inputs first and foremost, money will be a natural occurrence, right, for those who do it right. And that's why I love the crawl, walk, and run because what I say is, because since I come from surgery, right, you want to make sure you learn surgery, then operate on a mannequin patient, right? Before you ever put real money on the line, which is real surgery, right? So that mannequin patient is like the simulated environment where you want to make sure you're at least close to like 80% accurate before you ever transition to putting real money on the line, because you have naturally speaking, when you do put real money on the line, you have psychology and emotions involved,
uh,
right? Where depending on your personality, that 80% can wane, right? And decrease back to like 65 to 70%. right?
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that you were able to, probably maybe because of your engineering way of thinking, like just hone in on win rates and points. How many points can you extract from the markets, right? So what's
Yeah.
that journey been for you, by the way? Since you've been with us and learning how to trade, how have you seen yourself progress, and what were maybe some challenges and obstacles, if you had any?
Yeah. So, um, so I was a complete beginner, right? And I'm sure other people feel this way, but when you're presented with an opportunity, you want to make the most of it. And at the same time, at least for me, I don't want to be a nuisance to the folks that are like trying to help me with this, right? So I went to my first class, and I watched kind of everything happening. I started asking. It's the first time I heard of Ninja Trader, right? So they're like, "Oh, get Ninja Trader. That's what the brokerage we use."
Yep.
So I didn't even research anything else. I went straight to
Yeah.
Ninja Trader and I
Yeah.
downloaded the desk app. I didn't know what to do with it, right? And I was, again, maybe I was like, I can't be bothering these guys about how to work with the software. So I got on the phone with Ninja Trader,
Hmm.
and their customer service is actually really good. And they were giving me some of these tutorials on how to get it set up, how to get my account set up, how to get a
Sure.
subscription for the data, everything like that, right?
Yeah.
Then I started getting data and I was like, man, I don't even know how to place a trade, right? And then you see like on the top right corner, buy, sell, ask,
Yeah.
and I was like, what does
Bid.
all that
Yeah.
mean, right? So I started, I'd probably say the like 2 weeks, first 2 weeks after I got Ninja Trader, all I did was learn the jargon. Um,
Good.
so that way I understood what a buy sell limit is when it
Uh
comes
huh.
to that, right? So that was my first. I started watching the basic classes. The basic classes, what I liked about that, Phil, is everything I knew before that. I thought, like, I didn't know it was called fundamental analysis,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was like,
This is technicals. Yep.
yeah, and I was like, man, I can't sit here and just do fundamental analysis all day. There must be something different. And when I saw the basic class and I saw it was all technicals,
Hmm.
from an engineering mind, I was like, okay, I think I can, like, it's a different way of trading the stock market
It
and
is.
futures, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And so for those listening, right, there's a difference with fundamental analysis and technical. So fundamentals is really like what Warren Buffett is, like value investing. But you got to make sure you do your due diligence and research. You got to research your companies. You got to research your CEOs. You got to research the trajectory of that company, of that entity, quarterly earnings. What are the news saying about them? The interrelatability of markets. I mean, it's a lot of speculative, I would say, like research, right? And then you make your decision. But here, right, it's the way I describe it is similar to diagnosing X-rays, CT scans, and MRI scans in medicine, right? The only difference here is when you diagnose these charts the right way, they can actually print money. And these markets now become your own ATM machine. But now, Paul, for you, in your own words, like, how did it resonate with you from an engineering standpoint?
Yeah, so with engineering, um, what what we look at, you're talking about the MRI, is for us, we look at a set of standards, right? So
Okay.
in this case, I'm looking at the way the chart is moving, price
Yep.
action, right? That's
Okay.
sorry, I'm still a little bit slow with the words here, right? And those are my inputs, right? And as those are my inputs, from an engineering standpoint, my output is to make something that works but is also safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And fits within that. And
Yep.
so by gaining these inputs, what is my output for a profitable trade? Right? And when you don't know what you're doing, you're just kind of clicking buttons and I'll say the first time I traded on the simulator, Phil, on the 1 minute chart, everything was moving so fast. Like I just didn't know, like, what am I looking at? The numbers were just kind of going. But after months of doing it, it slowed down.
Mm,
Like, I think people call it like being in a state of flow, right?
sure.
Like
Or like you're like Neo in the Matrix. You start seeing things now,
right. And
right?
so now with the training that I've received, the screen time that I've put in, it's almost like it's slowing down, and I can almost not feel, but you can sense the sentiment, which is something you
Hmm.
hear a lot about it. Like this is what's happening because of the full belief of the market that the price is too high or too low for what it
Right.
is. And so yeah, being able to look at that with the systems that we have can produce a probabilistic output of this, right? Which engineering is like that all the time, right? You can't engineer for everything because there's just too many variables, in nature for you to
Sure.
do it. Or if you do, you don't have the budget to do it, right?
Right.
So you make the most with the information you have, with the budget you have, in order to produce a safe, viable product, right? So
Gotcha. I know. I love it. And from what you said, right, that's exactly why for those that have the opportunity to get trained under futures and commodities first, right, you can essentially trade everything else because of that higher speed and volatility, right? It's a lot harder to trade futures when you get trained as a stockbroker. But if you get trained as a futures trader, you can always go back the other way, right? Just because those assets just tend to move slower, right, in general when you compare different financial instruments. So Paul, what is your goal now that you have, been exposed to it, and it seems like you really want to commit, right? So you want to share a little bit about what your vision and trajectory is for the future in
yeah,
regards to, how trading is going to be immersed in your life.
yeah. So I'll share something with everybody. Before my uncle died, my uncle was a chronic gambler, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So and when he died, the last thing he told me was, he's like, Paul, when you're growing up, you got to find something that excites you every day, right? Whenever you think about it, you can feel your heart rate go up because of the excitement you feel towards it. Just find something that's like healthy, right? Something that makes you money, something that keeps you physically strong, like whatever. But find something for that for you. And I'll
Okay.
tell you, for the last 6 months, trading has been that for me. Um,
Wow.
I think about it quite often, right? I mean, there's not a time I take pictures of my charts after I trade, and whenever I have a free minute, like commuting to work, sitting, at lunch or whatever, I'm reviewing my trades, right? And so where I see myself is being able to replace my current income. As an engineer, I'm making about 200K a year, right?
Okay.
And so being able to replace that with trading,
I see.
um, and again, just seeing the way that one of the concepts that you guys teach is asymmetric risk to reward,
Absolutely.
and seeing that even over the last few weeks, being able to scale the same trade with that strategy
Yeah.
is really the way I think to scale into a full-time trader, right? But you got to learn the skill first, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely, absolutely. Well, now, so explain a little bit further, like because I can sense your excitement and passion,
yeah.
right? But like, where do you think the obsession comes from? Because you literally, I mean, and why do you think trading resonates with you so much in this regards, right?
Yeah.
Compared to everything else that you've done, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so trading for me, so I like the pace of it first,
Oh, okay, okay,
right?
yeah, okay. You're probably a little bit of an adrenaline junkie yourself.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I left engineering, right? To
Mm,
go from, so I was a combat
yeah.
engineer in the
Okay.
military, looking
Okay.
for roadside bombs and stuff like that. To go from that to like programming
Yeah.
as an engineer in an oil company was, man, it broke my heart every day to know that I'd just be sitting in front of a computer, not talking to people, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Dude, that's
and,
how I felt when I was taking my MCATs. I sacrificed basketball for an entire year, and the only time I could talk to someone was in between my food breaks or when I go got Starbucks. I took the new MCAT too, so that's like 8 hours just for the mock exam. So
oh,
yeah, man, yeah,
eight
that's
hours for
why for a mock exam, yeah, mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, and spiritually drained afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what I've seen, right? So I'll just go by points, right? Like the largest trade I had without adding any contract. So on one contract was 103 points, right? So for me, That was, I think I held it for four
Oh,
minutes and
yeah,
30
that's
seconds, right?
wow. Yeah,
So
you
to
caught a
do
good little
that,
trend.
yeah, exactly, right? And so I even replay that to remind myself because I record all of my trading sessions.
Right.
So I replay that to remind myself of of the feeling of that.
Mm,
And again, so being able to trade for 30 minutes. So for everyone, I only trade the opening 30 minutes because of my full-time job. And the potential you can make in that 30 minutes allows me to then express myself in other ways the rest of the day. I guess maybe I'm also lucky that most of the things I do is between the hours of 10 and 3 for work because I'm in sales. No one wants to see a sales guy after 3. They're all trying to get home, right? Um, so I spend my time trading in order to be able to express myself in other ways without worrying about
right.
money, right?
Yeah.
The other thing too is there's a book I read by Gary Keller, and he says if you want to be successful and you're not there yet, there's two things you're missing. You're missing a relationship or a skill,
Mm.
right? And for me, I'm always building my relationships, so I
I
always
love
kind of
that.
default that okay, I'm missing a relationship,
Yeah.
but I never really think about my skills. Right?
Mm.
And then I saw this and I was like, this is a skill where I can take control
Absolutely.
of
That's
my
right.
own destiny. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of hitting those two things, building relationships with traders that were not in my realm of like my social circles,
Yeah.
and now building my own skills, right? So
Yeah, and of course you have the full support of us at the executive team and our staff, because of how exciting this has been for you, and we're excited for you, right? I mean, my CIO, he was able to retire at the age of 25, and that's why he's partnered with us. Civil engineer by trade, similar to you. I think you're electrical. You
oh,
mentioned,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So there's some commonalities there, but yeah, man, that's why white collar professionals and fellow business owners, tend to really be, they're the individuals that maximize this. And I always tell people, at the end of the day, when you come through to get exposed to this style of investing, it is a skill set. It's a high income skill set that could be either a supplemental income, full time income, or a full blown career, depending on what you want to do with it. And it sounds like for you, it's you want to maximize it all the way, right? Maybe even make a career out of it.
yeah, yeah. No, 100%. I mean, there's not too many vehicles that I know of,
Mm,
Phil, where let's just say 1 hour of trading, like real focused trading, for you to be able to scale in the way that
sure. Yeah.
this tool allows you to, right?
Is that asymmetric risk to reward when done correctly, right? And that's the
Right.
that's the key there is you got to know what you're doing. But hey,
Yeah.
Paul, listen, I'm so glad that we had this talk. I'm excited to continue to know you more, check in on you, and hopefully we have some even more news, better news next time we talk. Any parting words to the audience, right? As we're coming up on time here.
Yeah. So one thing I will share is we live in a world of like social media,
Hmm.
and when you search up trading on social media, there's all kinds of people that come up, right? And I think what's helped me get to where I am now is it's been a very, very conscious approach to not go on social media and see
Mm,
what other traders are doing, right?
mm,
I've been very focused. Like if I want to watch a video on trading, I watch the recordings that you guys have because
mm.
I don't want to confuse myself or add other information that may conflict or be a different way that what you guys have been sharing with me. And
Yeah.
I figured the numbers they're throwing up are nowhere near the numbers that I've seen live with you guys. So why would I even waste my time on that? So for everyone out there, really, really fight the urge to go on social media and see what other trading things are going on. Stick with this program because if you can get really good at what they do, I mean, getting 1% better is almost a daily occurrence. So that's my
Wow, that compounds, man. That's from basketball. That's that Mamba mentality. Focus on doing what you do best. And thanks so much. I mean, I would hope so, right? Because I mean, we do take pride in the fact that we are doers in this space who happens to educate, especially with us. officially securing $500 million in assets
Wow.
under management, as of last Wednesday, right? I hope we know a thing or two, right? But hey, Paul, listen, man, again, super excited to have brought you on.
Mhm.
Got to know you better. I'm really proud of you and taking that leap of faith and really having trading resonate with you to where you're going to make this your full-blown career. So thanks again for your time. For those listening, if you're interested in learning more, write me a message on Philip J Hawk Chan LinkedIn. Mention the fact that you heard about this podcast, and my team will get back with you shortly. Again, Paul, thanks so much, and until next
Thanks,
time.
Phil. See ya.
Yep, take care.